Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Roundtable. My name is Ben Hedges and I'm in the studio with Holly Kellum. Welcome, Holly.
Good to be here, Ben.
And I have an interesting story for you today. Get ready for a roller coaster ride of spy action, espionage, money laundering, and salted Chinese-style ducks.
Oh.
So,
what a cliffhanger.
Linda Sun, who is was a deputy chief of staff for New York Governor Hochul. Okay, so this is at the state level, New York state government, the Governor Hochul. She was a Chinese national turned naturalized citizen. She has just been arrested a couple of days ago and is charged with 10 counts of federal crimes, including visa fraud, money laundering, and failing to register as a foreign agent. So basically she was is accused of being, I guess, a spy for the Chinese Communist regime or an agent of the Communist regime, advancing Chinese influence and Chinese interests in the US.
Interesting.
Yes.
So you said visa fraud. Is she a legalized? I mean, where did she grow up?
Yeah, the visa fraud is not her. So the visa fraud basically comes from her obtaining unauthorized letters from the New York state government to invite certain Chinese officials to come to the US. And these letters didn't have, she didn't have authorization to print these letters, but she was sending them to China to support people's visas of Chinese officials. So that's one of the things she's accused of, visa fraud. Then we have blocking access to Taiwanese government officials to the New York State Governor's office. So, she was working as a staffer under originally Cuomo and then Hochul. And so, obviously China, the CCP, they think Taiwan should be part of China and they want to take it over. And so they always interfere. That's why Taiwan isn't called Taiwan in the Olympics. It's called Chinese Taipei, and it has this flag of shame that they have to, wave around. Basically, they just interfere with Taiwan at every step, overseas, wherever. So yeah, she was blocking access to Taiwanese officials, to the New York governor's office, also deleting references to Taiwan from official documents.
Oh, wow.
She and her husband received millions of dollars in compensation for what they were doing. Through her husband's business interests in China. So they were kind of like, she wasn't directly being paid, he was the one who was receiving the payments. And there were also other things like in-kind payments, for example, travel and event tickets, promotion of a family member's business, employment for her cousin in China, and lots of Nanjing-style salted ducks that were prepared by the personal chef of a certain unnamed Chinese official being sent to her house.
I love that that's one of the bribes.
Yeah, she was being paid in delicious Chinese-style ducks.
Is that like a really valuable thing there?
I mean, personally, I would have preferred Beijing-style ducks, Peking duck,
but
Nanjing is a close second.
Is that like an expensive meat? Like, why is this a bribe?
Yeah, I guess it's pretty expensive. I mean, it's not like caviar level, but it is pretty expensive. And if you have a good chef, it is pretty exquisite. So assets that were accumulated through this scheme, because her companies, her and her husband had a couple of companies, a wine store and another business. I think it was a seafood business. And, the tax returns of the last 4 years, they didn't bring in more than $100,000 combined, okay? So they were getting money from other sources. So assets that were bought through these laundered funds from the CCP, a $3.6 million house in New York, another $1.9 million condo in Hawaii, and a 2024 Ferrari. It didn't say how much the Ferrari costs, but it's probably a few $100,000.
Yeah, I would guess so. Wow.
Yeah.
So she made out pretty well, her and her husband.
She did, until she got caught.
That's true.
And they've been investigating her, I guess it was kind of a sting campaign. They've been investigating for a few years, and now they finally, pounced on her.
Yeah, gosh, I feel like we just keep hearing about these politicians who have, either, campaign members or staffers or, some sort of person in their inner circle that is a CCP spy.
Right, and we've seen this a lot in the past few years. So we got a few more examples of this. Dianne Feinstein had a Chinese spy working for her as her driver for 20 years.
Yeah, right. Well, I can kind of see, if it's your driver, you're probably not going to know too much about them, right?
Well, he apparently attended some Chinese consulate events on her behalf as well. So it sounds like he was more than just a driver. I'm not really quite sure what the relationship was, but he was described as her driver and staffer. So, yes, and she was on the Senate. She was chief of the Senate Intelligence Committee.
I know.
During that time, so it's pretty embarrassing.
I know.
And then you got another one, Eric Swalwell. Remember Eric Swalwell and Fun
I
Fun?
do.
You do?
Yes, I do very well, yes.
He was also on the House Intelligence Committee. It's crazy how all the people on the intelligence committees of the House and Senate
they're clearly going to be the biggest
spies.
Targets, right?
I guess,
because the spies want to know what they know.
But specializing in intelligence, you'd think that they would be able to,
get it some other way.
Get the intelligence that there was a spy in there.
Anyone who reports on Congress knows that Congress is the biggest sieve in the entire world.
Right.
It's very easy to get secrets out.
So yeah, right. The agencies are more difficult, aren't they? CIA, FBI, it's like lips shut. But Congress.
Well, they have all these staffers that are exposed to all this classified information, and people are careless, or they have other motivations for talking to the press.
So Swalwell, I mean, this lady Fang Fang, who worked for she worked for his campaign for a while, fundraising. She
was like a volunteer.
And she would fundraise for different campaigns. She apparently, at least from the FBI, what the FBI told Axios a few years ago when this story broke, was she had 2 separate sexual relationships with elected officials, including, and one of these was a mayor of a certain Midwestern city, which wasn't disclosed, but this relationship was caught on electronic surveillance by the FBI, according to 2 intelligence officials, which Axios talked to. It's unclear whether she had a relationship like this with Swalwell. I remember at the time everyone was saying like he had a Chinese girlfriend, Fang Fang.
I don't know that it rose to the level of girlfriend, but I think the charge was that they had some sort of sexual relationship.
Okay.
And I don't know that. I remember...
Alleged, right?
Alleged, yes.
Allegedly.
Allegedly. We cannot prove either way, certainly. But anyways, yes, this is a very classic CCP tactic, as
I believe
you
there's a
probably
name
know.
for it, isn't there?
Yes, it's called honeypot is kind of the noun for it. It's basically, luring...
Or a honey trap.
Honey trap, yes. Sorry, did I say honeypot?
Well, the person is a honeypot, right? And the trap is
Yes, right, it's a honey trap.
Yeah,
so basically, I think this happens more in China. They invite an official over and they show them a good time, maybe put something in their drink, and then, they
introduce them to some girls, and he spends the night with them, and then they videotape it.
And then they have blackmail.
Yes. I don't think this is, unique to China. I think this is being done by every country in the world. But obviously, China is targeting our people here in the US with this kind of trap, isn't it? Yeah. And actually, Christopher Wray, the FBI director, he said in a speech, and this was quoted by Axios at the time of Fang Fang, the whole Fang Fang story broke. Beijing is engaged in highly sophisticated malign foreign influence campaigns, subversive, undeclared criminal and coercive attempts to sway our government's policies, distort our country's public discourse, and undermine confidence in our democratic process and values. So basically, they do these tactics to try and influence our politicians, right, to carry out policies that they want, like not recognizing Taiwan, etc.
Yeah, for sure. I do think, a lot of campaigns need free help,
And what Fang Fang would do, she would volunteer for a campaign, and then she would she would use that relationship to get her interns put into these offices of people. And then she'd use them, I guess, to collect information, or in some cases, she was actually a honey trap for officials. Fang Fang actually got away with it. She left the US mysteriously, suddenly left in 2015.
Yes, I believe there's an arrest warrant out for her.
I'm sure there is.
She's in China, so probably is not going to ever be arrested.
Right. Anyway, so these guys, Linda Sun and her husband Chris Hu, they've been arrested and charged, so we'll monitor the case and we'll see what happens. All right, guys, but what do you think? Would you fall for a honey trap? And do you think that we should just ban anyone who was born in a foreign country from working for any political campaign or anything? How do you think we should deal with it? Leave your opinions below. All opinions welcome.
Subscribe to the show.
That's right. Subscribe to the show and subscribe to Holly's channel, Newspeak, where she dissects the media and tells you how they brainwash you. I mean, how they report on the news. All right, guys. We'll see you next time.
Bye.